And welcome back to Kerbal Space Program. Let's go ahead and get right in here. Someday I need to come up with a fancy intro for this thing. Okay, in the last episode, our intrepid pilots have successfully returned to Kerbin from a very unlikely to survive kind of situation. And we've learned a lot. For one thing, we've learned not to let Billy Bob Viss program the food synthesizers. Beans and sauerkraut for over 30 days. That's bad. In the meantime, however, now that that mission is back, I think it's time to kind of look forward a little bit, because in 0.17 there are going to be several planets added. I believe it's 4 planets, and I think all of them have at least one moon, and the one planet, the gas giant Joule, has 4 moons. And so that's going to mean missions out there. And so, with that in mind, I think I want to start looking ahead in that direction, because as far as I can see, I don't know, maybe there are ways, but I personally right now, this minute, can't see an easy way with stock parts to build a ship capable of going as far out as any other planet and still having the ability to return. So, I'm thinking about working on the designs for space stations to come up with something that can serve as a space dock, basically an orbital construction platform. Now, obviously, I'm talking about the idea of using the orbital construction mod that allows you to build ships in orbit. Of course, you do the design of an actual building work in the VAB here, and then you take it out to the pad with a special part on it, and you click a button. Instead of launching it, it gets built in orbit out of parts that are extracted from the space dock's inventory. So it's not a freebie by any means. But first, we need to come up with something that will serve as some kind of a space dock. And we're working with vanilla parts. So let's see what we can come up with. Okay. I can obviously see we're going to be using some of these airplane parts, I think. I don't want to make the thing too obscenely big, but at the same time, I'd kind of like for it to actually look like a space station. Now, can I get another one down? Oh, good. How about up this way? Ah, These things don't want to. Oh, there we go. Okay. Probably shouldn't try to go any wilder than that. Well, it's starting to look like it might think it's a space station. What do you think? Let's see, these sections will have a mass of 0.4. And I've got quite a few of them on here already. Okay, let's throw some struts on here. Hold this mess together. I'm thinking that might give it a little bit of structural strength. At least enough to survive the trip to orbit. What else we got in here? Yeah. Okay. It's a little odd. What the heck? All right. It's not really great, but bear with me. It's my first attempt at building a space station. There. This early model will, of course, be manned. And somebody's going to get to live in that thing for a while. I'm going to go ahead and call this, let's get rid of the caps lock. Space Dock 1. Now, it needs a launch vehicle. Wait a minute. What is this thing mass? 5.2 tons. hardly any thrust, but I didn't figure it was going to have any. Okay, so we have a 5-ton space station. Now we need a launch vehicle that can get it into orbit. Okay, let's try something a little bit basic here. Okay. All right. No, not those. These structural pylons. I know they're intended for aircraft, but they work the same way as decouplers. They give you the advantage, however, in that you can put 8 of them on instead of only 6. This might also be the basis for a heavy lifter intended to bring cargo up to this thing. All right, let's get the fuel line on here. And a complementary strut. That looks sort of balanced. I guess we'll find out in flight. Okay, we'll put the thrust vectoring engine in the middle. Other ones outside. And because of the size of all this stuff, I'm going to lift it up here quite a ways. And put launch stability enhancers to hold it up so that it will clear the tower on launch. Well, that looked crazy as all get out. Space Dock 1L will be the name for this one. Space Dock 1 plus launch vehicle. Okay, let's have a look at our staging. Oh, no. Come on. Okay, I have this one. All right, I have our booster engines. We got that. We need this engine launching with those. These are the pylon decouplers. And now let's see. Stack decoupler. Oh, that's those things. Well, we won't need to bother with them, I'm sure. And then that. Okay. Let's give this really unlikely looking ship a tryout. Well, I wanted it to be clear of the launch tower, and it is. Whoops. Well, back to the drawing board. I should have thought of that. This whole thing is hanging there by the stack decoupler. We need to strut this thing down. And that's part of it. Let's see. That might help. All right, let's save that and see if it falls apart. Okay. Well, it looks cool. Okay. SAS on. Throttle up. Let's launch before it falls apart. Okay. Nice and smooth flying. I apparently did a reasonable job of balancing things. Of course, I haven't turned off the SAS yet either. The goal for this will be to put it in a 70 to 80 kilometer orbit, circularize it, and just park it there. Of course, this is a test flight. There is a part that I didn't put on this that I need to in order for it to become a space station, but I don't have that part installed yet. See, I have the orbital construction mod in my test copy of KSP. And to make a thing a orbital construction platform, you need to have this one part installed on the ship. And that allows you to deliver parts to it and have ships built there. Start tipping over. Nothing this edition just simply being a test flight. Once we're done, we'll bring it back down and then see about building one with the space dock part on it. Tipped over some more here. Looking good. I wonder what else that was that fell off. Cut the engines and have a look here. 131 kilometers. Okay, the ship is capable of doing what we want it to. And that's what this flight was all about. So let's just go ahead and stage everything. Oh, well, note to self. Maybe I shouldn't have used those decouplers as part of the station. Fortunately, all of this stuff is going to re-enter. And speaking of which, let's time warp and get this mission over with. And I'm going to go ahead and fast forward to landing, and then I'm going to go ahead and install the orbital construction mod so that we can actually put this space station in orbit for reals. All right, go ahead and end that flight. And I'll meet you back in the assembly building